someone wrote to me recently on my YouTube channel, and she said she had a trauma in her childhood. And I had a video of past life regression, but she said she had this trauma and she's thinking of going to a hypnotist now that she's seen my videos.
Mhm.
And so I said to her, make sure that this is also someone who deals with past life regression, not just hypnosis, because there may be more to what your trauma in this lifetime is about. And it would help you to be able to go into past lives. Because so then you can't just assume that someone who knows how to do hypnosis is going to know how to do past life regression.
I think that's a good point. And I think that whenever there is a childhood trauma, it's safe to assume it has some antecedents. If something happens that early, again, going with the reincarnation concept that these things are not accidents, there was something that brought that trauma on.
Today, I am privileged and honored to have my hypnotherapist, Lynn Sparrow Christy, with me. She is a hypnotherapist life coach, a longtime presenter on topics related to spiritual growth. She has also written several books, as well as numerous home study courses and magazine articles on these topics. You can learn more about her work at accessyourpotential.net, and I've also put that link down below.
Now, I'm going to talk out of the other side of my mouth for a minute, though, and say that sometimes dealing with the trauma at its inception in childhood is sufficient for a person at that particular time. So my own sense is that we're looking for a place to get a foothold or a handhold on the whole complex of a traumatic pattern. And a linear point of view says the farther back in time we go, or the further back in time we go, the more thorough the healing is likely to be. If we for a moment leave a time-bound perspective, we are always the totality of all of our experiences across time. And if for a given person, the most grabbable, workable place for a trauma is with a memory from this life, go for it. If it's necessary to go to the past life, it'll happen. So I think there is value in both perspectives.
Okay, I like that. And it's certainly based on your own experience.
Yes, yes.
And, I wanted to get into phobias because I recently have had experience. You've helped me with a phobia, and we're not sure if we're done with it yet. But a good example of what you're talking about, I have a phobia about swings. It's not a common phobia, I mean, I'm afraid of heights a bit, but I mean, the swing one is unusual.
Yes.
And in this lifetime, when I was a child, I was hit by a swing. Okay, so you could go,
Example.
yeah, perfect example. And it was hit from this side. And it's really funny. I was just about 3 or 4, and we were at a picnic at the park, and there were these huge, big swings. Not little swings like they have now. These are really big swings that you could leap off. But I was just 3 or 4, and my grandparents were there, my parents. Carol Ann, stay away from those swings. So of course, Carol Ann, you know how we are when we're little. I was like, I know what to do. When the swing is here, I'll go through. But I didn't think, because there were 3 of them, that this one might be here, but the next one might be coming down. So that next one hit me. And I was hit so hard, I was unconscious. And I came to, they carried me under a tree. And first thing I heard was my grandmother telling my mother what a poor mother she was, and blah, 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 just the usual stuff. So you could just leave it at this lifetime.
Yes.
But we have just come upon a lifetime in which I had been killed by a rope with a lead line from a ship that had hit me again on this side and had just smashed my brain, and I died. And I'm getting some relief from, and not total, because we don't know how deep this has to go, but
Right.
that's a good example of this life and then a previous lifetime.
Because there were other things that were important for you to get in touch with related to the life where you were hit with the lead line, it was important that just going back to the childhood swing episode would not have been enough. In other words, there was something beyond the being hit there with a swinging object that was important for you to uncover. So I would say that's something. I think what we have to remember with any past life memory, we are always coming in the middle of a movie, in the sense that unless we go back to our very, very first incarnation, which we think we may have done with you, but unless we go back that far, every life is both a cause and an effect simultaneously. You go back to your life in the 1700s and you can see how it was the cause of this that's going on now, but that life was also the effect of some unknown earlier life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we want to be careful about you have almost an infinite regression, life before life before life before life, which is why I say we will tend to have to go back as far as it takes to get the big picture of the many factors that we are working with in this lifetime. So in your case, had we just gone back to getting hit with the childhood swing and done lots of healing on that, it probably wouldn't have done a whole lot, because your soul knew that there were things about that life where you were hit with the lead at the end of a lead line that were also needing to be dealt with, that were never going to come out if we stayed looking at the little girl hit with a swing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I remember probably about the same time that I first met you, working with someone who had a lot of trouble with nausea and even a great fear of vomiting. And we did all kinds of approaches to get some healing on it, and really weren't getting anywhere until we went to a past life where she had poisoned her husband. And the interesting thing about it was that she had done a regression about that life before, but it had been left unresolved. That is, she knew about that memory, but there was healing work to be done on it. The husband had been unfaithful, and she wanted to kind of keep him close. And so she didn't intend to kill him. She just kept putting little bits of poison in his food to keep him sick enough that he would be dependent on her. But she overdid it and he died. And in a fit of remorse, she took a bunch of the poison herself and died.
Mm.
So here we have her in this life with all kinds of GI problems, nausea, a terror of vomiting. We can only imagine what her end might have been like in that earlier life. And the piece of unfinished work had to do with forgiving that past self, letting go of the guilt over the poisoning of the husband and so on. Because when we hold on to lack of forgiveness of self, we punish ourselves You know, people like to think of karma as being imposed somehow from outside of us. But the only person imposing karma on us is our own stuck memory. Karma is a natural result of what we hold in consciousness as it interacts with life around us. So that's why so very, very often the ability to understand that some of the things we may have done in the past that were less than ideal were the best we could do at the time. In other words, we all can look at things we've done and say, gosh, if I had known then what I know now, I don't think I would have done that. And that's the beginning of self-forgiveness, because the key is you take the lesson. Okay, I've learned that's not something I ever want to do again. That was not a good thing to do. And that's the beginning of a letting go. But until we have done that, it's almost like we have a sticker on our back that says, punish me. I'm a bad person. I did X, Y, or Z to someone in another life.
Wasn't that a great session? I was so happy that Lynn could be with us today and that she could answer questions and talk on these wonderful topics having to do with hypnosis and past life regression. If you enjoyed this video, please tap that like button. It really helps as far as getting this information out to other people. And if you're new to the channel, I'd love it if you'd subscribe and hit that bell so that you're notified when new videos come out. Looking forward to talking with you in future videos. Toodaloo. Bye-bye.